Good evening, everyone. I'll first run through the presentation, and what we could do is have a question and answer session. Alternatively, we can have an interactive session. You can stop me whenever you want, and then we could ask me questions, and we could go on from there. I have no background in horticulture, no formal education in horticulture. I got into horticulture in the early 90s when my father set up an orchid farm near Chengalpet. It was a 40-acre farm where we were growing dendrobium orchids, from where we were exporting cut flowers. Our exports used to go basically to Netherlands, Germany, Taiwan, Singapore, and also sometimes to the Middle East. And over the last 5-6 years, we have wound down our operations in orchids. We don't do any more of the cut flowers. And then I have slowly migrated from cut flowers into a less perishable business, which is the tree business. Today I am engaged in 3 different activities: the production and exports, landscaping, and retail. All of them in the plant business. In landscaping, of course, it's more than just plants. It's also a lot to do with any civil works outside the buildings, and also sometimes we also have to do the irrigation. We started off in 2003 with exports to Singapore, then to China, and then to Europe. But over the last few years, our exports have not only reduced but have also almost come to a halt because of changes in regulation, and also the indifferent markets, especially in Europe. The European market is in very bad shape. I'll first take you through some images of landscaping, and then probably some exports, and not too much about the palms which we grow, because all of you can come and see the palm trees at Nathanallur, which is about an hour's drive. It's about 10 kilometers from Oragadam. And then we have a retail nursery called 13 Degrees North, which is just 2 kilometers beyond BGP Golden Beach. So both these are accessible, you can see it, but what I would like to show is what you probably won't experience easily. So we get terrain. It will be like this. This is partially worked on. Sometimes terrain, there will be a lot of shrub, there will be thorns, there will be rocks. You need to clear it and then start your work. We normally start with, we bid for a project, we get the project, there are designs, and we have to execute the project to the design. Then we use machines to flatten, level, to shape the land as required by the architect and by the client. Then once you're done with that, then we sometimes have to grade the soil, we have to stabilize the soil, and then do the irrigation. The pipelines which you see are all the irrigation lines which are running on the over the ground now. This is work in progress. We work alongside civil, we work alongside people who are doing the roads. There will be people laying cables, there would be people laying pipelines. Ideally, we should come in after everybody is finished. But it never happens in India. Never ever happens in India. So, perishable plants will be placed, and the next minute somebody will trample over them. So we have a big challenge in delivering sites with minimal casualties and a good looking finished product at the end. The same, what you're seeing now, I'll show you a few months later when it's finished. You finish, and on to the left where you see the blue and the metal sheets, that's where the rest, the site is moving on. So you finish segments and keep moving on. And invariably, sometimes the smaller plants, we have casualties of 20-30%. I'm sure Mr. Baumek also would have experienced the same thing. This is a completed site. This is a site we did in Nellore. an interesting project. This is a Kalyana Mandapam which came up on an 8-acre site, and the Kalyana Mandapam looks exactly like a new airport terminal. This is just, I mean, I haven't shown you a front picture, but it's finished the same way. It's 40,000 square feet, Italian marble for 40,000 square feet, seats, I don't know how many, but quite a lot, and very, very interesting project.
It's airport converted to Kalyana.
No, it's likely that they will have a landing strip also very soon there. You can just land in and have your Kalyanam and go back.
Is this outside Nellore or?
Just outside Nellore, on the highway, just off the highway. It's called BPR Convention Center. Again, some work which you've done with regard to the hardscape, the entire round hall and also those pillars. This was done, the design was by a Singapore architect called Bell Collins. Water features. So you have to know civil, you have to know plumbing, you have to know electrical, you have to be a jack of all trades when you are in the landscaping business. Another shot of a water feature. So with this I move on from the landscaping to the export business, exporting of trees. Our focus has been basically on exporting large palm trees, though we have done other plants as well. Most of our exports have been from India, but we've also done some third country exports, that we have sourced material from another country and sold to another country. We have done that from Thailand to Italy, we have done that from Uruguay to China. So these are big palm trees which are being packed. The tree itself would weigh a few tons, not just 1 ton. With the Indian, this is more or less like the Indian Ichamaram, the Kajur. A similar kind of tree called the Phoenix canariensis, originally which came from the Canary Islands. This tree is massive. As you can see, the root ball itself is about 2 meters, 1.5 to 2 meters in size. So what we do is, we first get the plants ready for a long journey. The journey can be anything between 2 to 6 weeks inside a container. And these are all loaded on what is called open top containers. The top of the container is never closed. You just have a shade net over it, and it travels by sea. It doesn't get any water after it leaves your destination. So we pack it with what is called peat moss or cocoa peat. And then big cranes are used to move these packed materials. They are lifted and left straight first for a few days, and they are packed with chain link or weld mesh so that there is no damage to the root ball, as you can see on the right extreme. And then the leaves are protected. Maybe in this particular tree, 2 would go in a container or 4 would go in a container depending on the size. And this is the open top container. They are placed into the container from the top. This is what we used to do before. But circumstances have forced us to look to the Indian market, which has been reasonably good. And there is a lot of regulation in terms of trade in trees. The trade in trees is dictated by not just quarantine. The quarantine only looks at whether a particular tree or a particular plant can bring in certain diseases to the country and could be a threat to the economic crops of the country. But also there are conventions like CITES, which is the Convention on the International Trade of Endangered Species, which governs, say, the tiger or the star tortoise. The same thing governs also plants. There are rare plants which get sold or which get exported. You could be in trouble. Even possession of that plant can land you in jail. So that's about the exports. And this is how our farm looks in Nathanallur. I just put one photograph up for you to have a look. So we have about 60 to 70 varieties of palms, and this is spread over a 20-acre facility. We grow them on the ground, most of them, and we uproot them and prepare them for transportation or translocation to a different site. These are trees packed ready to go for the local market. The packing is slightly different because it doesn't have to go through a long journey. Any journey out of Madras is a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks if it's Europe. Because we don't have direct shipments from here, it will go either to Singapore, go into another vessel from Singapore, or go to Dubai or Colombo and then get transshipped again. So more or less the same operation. You use a crane, but a smaller crane. These are smaller palm trees, and they get loaded onto the truck and they're sent. At one time when we started exports, we could just export the tree. They would inspect in Sicily and release it for planting. Then about in 2008, the new rule came because there was a disease. There was a beetle which started eating up all these huge trees. Within 2 months, a 100-year-old tree would just die. So they decided that they would bring in some new laws because that particular beetle is found all over Asia. So they said any tree which comes into Europe, which is it's got a trunk over 1 foot, will have to go through a period of quarantine. 1 year in the exporting country and 1 year after it lands at the country in which it is imported. It's completely stopped our business because that means 2 to 2.5 years you have to keep stock. Nobody would do that. And landed cost after all duties and clearing for a tree could be over 1,000 euros. So we did one shipment, and as you can see, this whole thing is in a parda. We completely, instead of having the whole area under net, we came up with this innovative system of just having individual trees under net. So it stayed like this for a year, and by the end of that year, the market also collapsed. It was just a coincidence. These are trees which we exported to China, and they were planted, and I just went soon after there doing the planting. The Chinese market is an amazing market for plants. They are very liberal in their imports. They have been importing plants from Australia, from South America, from Europe, and it's unbelievable the amount of money they spend in greening their highways and the specification of the plants they use. If you look at an Indian highway, we would start with a very small plant, which would take maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years to grow into a tree. While they would just buy big trees and they would give that finished look within a few months. Another shot of the same area. We also do bougainvilleas, and it's one of my favorite plants because it's very hardy, it does well in Chennai, and these are some finished products in bougainvillea. But this is not a shot from my farm. This is a greenhouse produced bougainvillea. We do the same thing in open cultivation. Another shot of the same greenhouse cultivation. This is Europe. I'm done with this presentation. I have another presentation of on plants, but before that I would first take questions, and then if necessary we'll go on to the next presentation, otherwise we could stop at this.
How old is the tree when you start putting it on?
We grow plants from seed. We also buy trees. For example, if it is the phoenix palm, the Ichamaram, we go out, we go to other farms, we buy it from them, we bring it to our farm and get them ready for a long shipment. So it stays with us anything between 6 months to 1 year before we resell it. The palm grows, let's say this palm will go about 6 inches a year of trunk. So if you want a 10-foot palm, you're between 15 to 20 years will be the age of the tree.
So obviously you cannot plant to order, I suppose. You must make your own judgment as to what the market
Absolutely.
is now.
Absolutely.
How many varieties of palm trees actually in the world?
Sorry, in the world, I think maybe close to 1,000.
What is the mortality of the transplantation?
In the Phoenix, which is the main palm which we sell in India and which we've exported, in exports we have had less than 7% mortality. In India, maybe 2-3% mortality. That's because we go through the process of stabilizing the tree before we sell it. It's not just pulled out of the ground and shipped to the
But what
site.
about soil conditioning there in the space value?
These are hardy trees. For example, you look at the Palmyra. The Palmyra is a very hard tree to transplant. Very, very hard tree because it's got a very deep root. And over a period of time, our success rate with the Palmyra has gone up to 70%, but we have not perfected it. Whereas this, the rate is over 90%, very comfortably over 90%. So each tree has its own peculiarities in terms of adaptation. The Palmyra, the Phoenix are not very fussy about the soil type. Palmyra, in fact, sometimes can grow in waterlogged areas.
Why the foreign countries cannot grow it themselves? Why they are dependent on it?
See, everybody likes something exotic. The same tree doesn't grow there, so they like to import this.
But it can't survive, no? If it can't grow, it can't
I can
survive.
only sell to southern Spain, to southern Europe. I can't sell to anything beyond. Even Rome is too cold. So Sicily, some part of Spain, Greece, some parts of China. Not, you can't go and sell to Shanghai. No.
How does it survive during transportation?
Survival is very good.
It doesn't require water or...
We pack it in a way that it requires, it can survive those 45 days, 50 days maximum.
I have two palms on the second floor. Is it risky to keep it because you said the roots go very deep?
It depends on the palm. The Palmyra has a deep root. The palm which you possibly have on the second floor doesn't have deep
But
root.
it's not growing also. Past 6 years.
If you restrict the space, it won't grow. The root needs to grow. It needs space. Any plant, for example, you put plants in a pot. The same plant you put in the soil, you'll have much better growth.
Chetan, how did you grow?
What is ready made 10 feet? Like
You need not spend big money for demolition.
You said that in China they put trees and within a few months they start flowering or
Not flowering. Basically, when you buy a big tree, there is a period the plant goes into shock. Depending on the type of tree, it can be anything between 3 months to a year. Some of them can be in shock for a year before they start growing again. So, what I'm saying is, you will have a fairly finished look to the highway in 6 months. That's just a number I gave you, but it could also be a year. Some trees are faster than palms. Palms take a longer time to recover in general.
The Forest Act that comes in this.
Sorry?
Forest Act.
Forest Act comes if you take from the forest. Prakash, are you close to a forest?
No, because I want to cut a tree in my house, they are not allowing it.
We don't cut trees. It's a live tree I'm taking.
But transplant, that's it.
No, it's not at all. It's like saying, I hack you into two, that's finished. But if I take you from here and translocate you to the other place, that's not a cutting. Sorry, you were saying?
No, I just want to ask you whether I forgot.
What is the market value of things in China when you look at influence? They have a huge demand from.
In China, yeah, the market is large. See, like any business, there are two spaces for most people. Either you can sell at the price at which everybody sells, or you can have a very good product and command a premium. That's it. It's like any other business. China has, our farms are very small, very, very small. If you look at Sri Lanka, you don't even have to go up to China, you go to Sri Lanka, their farms are far better than us. You look at Thailand, they're at least 10-15 years ahead of us. Production techniques, size of farms, the range, the offerings they can give, the work they do with plants. It's amazing. And you look at places like Italy, I've seen farms which are 500 acres to 1000 acres, a single farm. And they would have one variety of 100 acres. If I have 100 acres here, I will have at least about 300 varieties growing there. There is no market. In India, the market is still very, very minuscule. It will take years for us to grow to that size. But having said that, we'll certainly have a project in which the architect will say, I want 100 date palms of 10 feet high. I can bet you there will be nobody in India will have that also. So we have it's both a chicken and egg problem.
Is it a profitable business?
Yes, it is a profitable business, but it's a business which calls for immense patience. Immense patience. I think the landscaping business is a better business than growing.
Are we importing?
We are not technically allowed to import anything with soil. India is not does not permit anything with soil. So there are people who are importing. There are people in Hyderabad, there are people in Bombay who are importing plants, but that's questionable in terms of how they are importing.
Is the limited demand in India, is it because land is so scarce that people don't have?
No, I think we are not mature in terms of enjoying plants, enjoying landscapes. I think that we haven't, in our growth as an economy, I think we have not come there yet. For example, you had written about a plant called Sansevieria, mother-in-law's tongue. About 3 years ago, Indonesia and Thailand went through a craze of having Sansevierias and mother-in-law's tongues of different types. In plants there are species and there are hybrids. When 2 species of Sansevieria are hybridized, you get a hybrid. So people were out looking for a new hybrid. And new hybrids used to cost sometimes 40,000, 50,000, a lakh, depending upon its uniqueness and its look. And that kind of craze today you can't have in India. You cannot, introduce a plant today and you cannot have collectors who will buy it at that price. There are very, very few and far between. The market will grow and will get to that maturity. For example, I can see myself in the last 2 years we have had this retail business. I was very skeptical about what I could sell. We have almost about 500 unique different types of plants now in the retail outlet. When I started it 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, I never expected to have that kind of a broad assortment. Today there are some plants in my nursery which are priced as high as 25,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees. I don't sell many of them. Maybe I sell 1 in 3 months. But still, I have the confidence to put it out. That's how the market is evolving. Sometimes I think it's also a question of you making it available, people seeing it, and you also showing them how to use a plant. Many people don't know how to use a plant, where to put the plant. Interestingly, that mother-in-law's tongue is one of the many plants recommended by NASA for cleansing indoor air pollution.
With mother-in-law's tongue?
You can always chop it off and put it.
Maybe that will cleanse a lot of other things also.
Even now, landscaping is the last thing on the client's list.
I showed you that we work alongside with everybody else. They don't care, they just want something green.
No, panchayat.
Only we are exporting tulips like something green.
I don't know, maybe. See, why we are exporting tulips to Holland is because during this period, Holland is dark, the cost of production is high because everything has to be grown indoors, in greenhouses, so you have to heat, you have to also provide light. So the window between October to March, you can possibly send anything you want, including roses at this time. But once the summer starts there, or spring starts there, you can't export. that business was a tough business. The flower is perishable. Once it's harvested, it's even more perishable. Then it goes to the florist. They can claim that 40%, 30%, 10%, 100% of your material has come damaged. He will send you a photograph. The cost of air freight for you to go to inspect will be more and come back. So I decided that's a business not worth being in.
One thing I want to ask you. It's like
No,
a
you
child.
remember.
You have grown it now for years. First time when you sold it, did you feel a sort of regret that what you have grown for about 9 years or 10 years is being part of it?
Not really. I'm in the business, I can't have that emotion. But there are some plants which are unique, maybe when I don't have too many of them. And there is a tinge of sadness that I'm going to part with. If I get the price, I think then that compensates for this.
So how do you project your demand?
We have to guesstimate. I'm growing 60 varieties of palm because I don't know which palm I'll grow and which will be appealing to somebody. And at the same time, when I'm planting 100 plants, I don't know if somebody in Calcutta is planting the same thing. I don't know if somebody is planting it in Delhi. I don't know if somebody is planting it in Hyderabad. So that's something we, at this point in time, I think it's more about having a good plant which is unique and giving it to the customer or to the landscape architect and saying, this is what I have, use this in your landscape. We are still in a very nascent stage. So that complexity has not come, what you are saying.
I mean, agricultural income or
Totally agriculture income. Till you go to the forest and fell. Then it's forest produce.
You can show us the other one.
I just put together some fascinating plants, some plants which I like together. I'll run through this. I think this is, we can skip this too. I don't know how many of you have watched this movie called Madagascar with their children, with your kids. In that there is a tree called the baobab, which is on the right extreme. It's called the upside down tree. It's a tree which has fascinated me. I chased the seed for 1 year through an importer contact of mine in Italy, who contacted somebody in France, who contacted the person in Madagascar, and finally I paid the guy in Italy, and then the money went there, and then the seeds came to Italy, and then when I went finally to Italy, after a year I got the seed, and only about 30% of the seed was viable. I finally got the seed. There are 8 species of this baobab, or what the botanical name is Adansonia. One is in Australia, one grows in Africa, mainland Africa, and 6 are endemic to Madagascar. Madagascar is a very unique island, and it's got some fabulous species of flora and fauna. This is the baobab. The tree, it's probably the tree with the largest girth. Some of them can be as much as 30 meters, 40 meters in terms of size. I think the largest recorded one is 57 meters. You can see here it dwarfs an elephant, an African elephant. You won't believe it. The commonly grown or the commonly available baobab in Africa, which is called the Adansonia digitata, there are few superb specimens in Chennai. No. One is very close to the Theosophical Society on the other side in the Andhra Melasama. There's one in the Agri-Horticultural Society. There's one in a petrol bunk opposite MRF in Greaves Road. And you will see people would have nailed signage on it.
There is one in Rajapal.
Okay. There is also in the Golconda Fort in Hyderabad, there are quite a few in Hyderabad. This is a tree which grows in dry areas, hates water. It doesn't like water. So for For Tamil Nadu, this is a fantastic plant. This is a plant which has got religious significance. It's the leaves and the fruit are very rich in vitamin C. It's edible. The flower and the leaf can be used in salads. It's a very good place to find water. In fact, you can make a hole. Most of the trunks are hollow. You can make a hole in the trunk. Water gets stored there. You can plug it. You can take it out. You can drink water. So, from a point of view of usefulness, this tree has been amazingly useful. And the oldest tree could be about 1,000 years old. The dendrochronology, which is used, which is the method in which you assess the life of a tree or the age of a tree, can't be used in this because it's hollow. It doesn't have those rings. But it's got a thick bark like the cork. You peel the bark, after some time the bark grows back. They are grotesque, but they are nice. They look. It makes you feel as though you're in a different planet.
Are these from Madagascar?
These are all from Madagascar. I'm not showing you the ones from mainland Africa. Madagascar is one place I would love to visit. It's in my bucket list. This is my Italian importer. He must be about 6 feet 4 inches. This used to be a forest of these baobabs. Over a period of time, they've all vanished, and they're again in the CITES list of threatened environments. You can see this guy is like a Lilliput in front of this tree.
What's the height of the tree?
I think these are about 30-40 meters. I don't-
Meters.
Meters, yeah.
120 feet.
No, I'm not saying this tree. I'm saying trees grow up to 30 meters.
I always thought that an American.
They are bigger. The girth of this tree is bigger. The redwoods are the tallest trees. I'm not talking about the tallest here.
The circumference.
Yeah.
Like over a foot.
This Sunland baobab is one of the largest. You can see the number of people around it, and these have been baobabs. The hollows of the trunks have been used as cow sheds, as toilets, you can see a nice bar also, which seats 60 people inside.
The tree is alive.
The tree is alive,
Live tree.
a live tree. And this is one of the most beautiful photographs of the baobab I've seen. The silhouettes. This is my favorite tree. I grow this. I have a few. I think I have about 1,000 seedlings of these. Maybe not seedlings anymore. They're young plants. They're about 2-3 years old. They grow fast if you put it on the ground. I encourage some of our clients who have got large spaces to put these. But everybody wants a tree which is already 30 meters. That's the problem. You plant this for your next generation. This is another. I was always fascinated by cacti. I used to have a collection of about 150 species of cacti when I was in college. My father, before me, when in 1957, had more than 300 varieties, and that was more remarkable than what I did in the 80s. This is called the golden barrel cactus, and they also call it mother-in-law's cushion. Somebody who was very keen on mother-in-laws here, I think Mukund, right? Yeah.
Actually, it should be daughter-in-law.
We have one big specimen of this in our nursery. The cluster of them. It's called Echinocactus grusoni. These are all plants from the desert. They grow in very tough environments. Unbelievable plants, and they are just gorgeous.
But the cactus grows in cold areas also.
Most of the deserts are pretty cold in the nights. In fact, they thrive in extreme weather. They don't like wetness. They can take the cold, they can take the heat, but they don't like high humidity, they don't like it being too wet. So you have to have a very well drained soil wherever you put cacti. How they've used it in landscapes. This is in the native habitat, growing on a sheer cliff. It must be weighing at least about 40-50 kilos. For it to just live off that cliff is unbelievable. This is production. When you talk about China, they will order one full container of these. For me to bring, it took me a year to decide to bring 2 specimens to Chennai and sell it. You can just see how the Chinese, they get it packed. They're unpacking it after it's come from wherever, I think maybe Europe or whatever, and they just sell it like this. China must be about 5-10 years ahead of us in terms of demand, in terms of their sophistication in this business. This is a very interesting plant only because it survives in the harshest of environment in the Sierra Nevada range between Utah, Nevada and California. And in the world, it is the oldest living plant. They have dated this back to 5,000 years. And the environment is so harsh, sometimes it doesn't unfreeze for 2 years, 3 years in a row. And the pines, most of the tree would be dead, there will be a small part of it will still be alive. And the pine from this tree sometimes doesn't fall off for 40 years. So it's adapted so well to this harsh environment, and this is how stark it is: windy, cold, or hot.
It's a live tree or dead?
That's a live. There will be one segment of it which will be live. When it is younger, it will be like the trees in the background. But as it ages, it can only survive in small fractions of the complete tree. The Methuselah is the tree which they had dated, and they found that it was about 5,000 years old. And they also, there was another tree which was about 4,000 and odd years old. And in the 1960s, with the permission of the forest department, one of the researchers cut down that tree. So even in the US, in 40-50 years ago, they were not so aware of the environment as they are today. So now they don't even tell you which is the oldest tree. You know it's in the Sierra Nevada in the mountains. They don't want vandalism. They don't want people to go and tamper with these. I just think this is a tribute to how tough plants, can be, and what harsh environments they can grow. This is Calcutta, the banyan tree, which is spread over 1.5 hectares, a single tree, and it has got about 2,800 and odd prop roots. I don't have a great picture, but this is the tree. This is the picture of that tree. It's massive. You can imagine 1.5 hectares is almost 4 acres, which will be covering about 160,000 square feet of space. I love bougainvilleas. I think they're very colorful. I talked to you about it. And this is to just show you how bougainvilleas are being used, very creatively. And this is bougainvillea again in balconies. I'm showing you different colors of bougainvilleas which you might not have noticed. Most of the time bougainvilleas you see are either purple or white. This is an Indian cultivar. You can make bonsais out of bougainvilleas. And just to show you one landscape where different colored bougainvilleas are used. very colorful plants, very little care. This is a plant from the Namibian desert, and it puts out 2 leaves. And after just those 2 leaves for its entire life, and the life can be over 500 years. These are just 2 leaves, but it has been shredded by and aged by time and by all the winds, etc. The speciality of this tree or this plant or this shrub, whatever you call it, is that because it's in the desert, it searches for water, and its roots go as far down as 150 feet, 200 feet. This looks as though it's more like, from Star Trek or something like that. It's only found in the Namibian desert. Another interesting place like Madagascar is Sokrata. This is an island of Yemen, and it's got 800 plant species, out of which 300 are unique to that island. And this is desert rose, and the one in the background, the tree is called Dracaena draco. You would have seen these desert roses in almost all nurseries. They're called adeniums. They're about 400-500 years old. This has become so popular, especially the Taiwanese have done so much work. They have got reds. This is the original color, it's only pink. From there, through breeding, they have got reds and a whole range of other colors. I'm talking about there must be at least 150 different types, colors, some with stripes, some of them are yellow in color now. Very easy to grow plant, very suitable for Chennai. Olive trees, they are another fascinating tree, easy to transplant, easy to ship. They grow for a few hundred years. Economic value is unbelievable. It's become popular now in India also in the last few years, the olive oil. But apart from the oil, it's a very good plant for ornamental purposes, very good for landscaping. This is a photograph of a grove in which we took this. It's one of the oldest groves of olive trees. Thanks. Any questions?
Can olive be grown in India?
Yes, they already